Also, if you could give the channel a like and subscribe, all of those things really do help out. And today's guest is the one and only Chris Van Heerden. Chris, thanks so much for being here, man.
My guy, thank you for having me. It's an honor, and I'm looking forward to this. But before we start, I need to say this: Van Heerden.
Van Heerden.
Van Heerden.
I love it, man. Chris, you're a South African professional boxer and a former welterweight world champion. Let's go. After starting your professional boxing career in 2006, you quickly emerged as a top fighter on the entire African continent. And now a celebrity trainer. Your mission is to inspire others through your story. And you have a documentary coming out soon. You're also a two-time marathon finisher, which I love. And thank you to Mary Jo Deutschman for connecting us. Your Instagram is at Chris Van Heerden 001. Chris Van Heerden.
Not bad.
I'm working on it. I love to start these podcast episodes with this question of inspired living. What does inspired living mean to you?
You know, if you ask me, inspired living means to live a way where you obviously inspires the ones around you, live in a certain way, do certain things, so your friends and the people close to you can find inspiration by the things you do, by the things you say.
Yes, man. I love talking to champions too, like world champions. You guys are like a different breed, and there's something about you guys. Like, what is that? What is that little difference?
Actually, I had a conversation the other day with a friend of mine. And I said, you know what, for some reason, I can walk into a room with strangers, and the moment I'm being introduced and the introduction goes, oh, meet my friend Chris, he's a professional fighter. Men are gravitated towards me. Men are automatically, because I think I'm portraying that alpha male, like, oh, I'm a fighter. I don't know what it is, but men are automatically drawn towards me. And then before I know it, I have everyone standing around, I'm talking. I think it's because of that, because some part of you, if you have a wife, you have a girlfriend, if whatever, every man wants to feel like they will be able to protect their woman, right? Every man wants to feel like, oh, my woman looks at me like, I am the man. And I think as a fighter, that is what we come across as, that male. Now, I can go deep and say, if you get to know me, I am probably equally as scared, if not more than a normal guy on the street. Like, I am not all of that, but I can, when the situation or the something occurs, I know I have the confidence to do what I have to do. But I think that is it.
Yeah, I was just going to say confidence. I heard you on another podcast talking about confidence, talking about the way you walk down the street, the way you hold, carry yourself, right?
My dad raised me, and my dad would always say, because I'm the smallest of 7 brothers, and I got bullied and I was scared. I don't like fighting. If I see danger coming towards me, my first instinct would be, how can I get out of the way? How can I defuse this? Where my brothers and my dad were all about, oh, you're coming at me? Oh, I'm coming at you at full speed. And I was different. So I would walk scared, and I would show that that I'm scared. But then my dad said to me, my son, body language. He said, that's why you are being bullied. And that's why, because you walk like you're weak. He said, just change the way you walk. And when I walk into a room, I've had it so many times, if you get to know me, I don't like to fight, but people will avoid me because they would recognize me, or they would want to talk to me. But my aura, my demeanor is saying, stay out of my way.
Mm-hmm.
So guys would not approach me, and they were like, dude, you look like, oh, it's about to go down. But once they get to know me, and that's all about body language.
Yeah.
And that the confidence that boxing gave me, the confidence to have that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the theme of this show is all about staying inspired, right? And this idea for me of the inspired athlete, that's the athlete I always wanted to be, and that was hard for me to be my whole career, right? And it's still like a challenge, but to me, that's the goal, to stay in that zone of the inspired athlete. I wanted to ask you, as a world champ, as a someone that inspires me. I know your story now. What does that mean? How do you define an inspired athlete?
No, I can only touch on mine. Before I started every time I do a podcast, an interview right now, I'm like, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to get emotional, but I can already feel it. Like, what inspired me my whole career was two things. The first thing was my dad. Okay, my dad was my inspiration because, he was my hero. I wanted to be like my dad. I was seeking approval from my dad because it was hard to get his approval, but he believed in me like none other. And the fear of letting him down, the fear of failing my dad it was a big push behind me, and that inspired me not to quit, not to give up, keep going, because I needed to get that approval of that man. And he believed in me. So I was like, I know I can do this. He's seeing something, right? So before I get to quit, can you hear me?
Yeah. Keep going.
Noise? Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Sorry for that.
No problem.
So that was a push. But the second thing, which is probably the way I live my life, vision. The vision. So I had visions as a kid. I had visions as a professional fighter. I would see for example, I would see myself in Madison Square Garden. And I would see myself, fight there. I would see myself with the Freddie Roaches. I would see myself, walking down the aisle, 20,000 people. So I have those visions when I go to bed. Now,
Wow.
I'm not even close to getting there, but I wake up every morning and I put in the work in the gym and I put in the drive and I try my best, because that vision inspires me. And for me, being a man of faith, and I'm open about it, where do we get these visions? I ask myself, where do we get these visions that we have? Now, I can quote, again, I speak of myself, Habakkuk 2 verse 2 in the Bible is talking about the vision. Habakkuk 2 verse 2 in the Bible is telling you to take the vision, write it down, and make it plain for everyone to see and read. So don't take your vision, and I preach about this for the listeners. Got to listen to me. Those visions you have in your head, write them down. Don't write them down in a book that you fall over and only you can see. Take that vision, write it down, put it up against the wall in your kitchen. When your friends come over, they read those visions. You know why? One, it holds you accountable. And two, it's scary when people read those visions. But you got to make it plain for everyone to read and see. Now, the vision might seem like a lie, but it's not. The vision will happen in due time, at the right time. So for me to believe in that, I had these visions. So waking up in the morning with these visions, I'm so inspired. And that, that pushes me, but it pushes me. Now, I'm going to be honest. I have many times questioned those visions. And I find myself many times, like, I want to say, in disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a believer, but sometimes I'm human. I find myself in disbelief.
For sure.
But then again, I go back to two things. My dad, that would pick up the phone and say, my son, oh, you got this. Your time is coming.
Like that.
And I'm like, how does this man believe in me so much? So then I'm inspired again. So that's what inspired athlete. I mean, that's how I define it. Vision.
I love it.
I want to say the love and support from a parent.
Yeah. No, I think that's really well said. I love that you talked about visions, and I have a whole section on spirituality. So I want to touch more on that, because that's, for me, that's a big part of the inspired
That's
athlete.
a big part of my story, is just that.
Right. Let's get there. But first, let's go into becoming a champion, because this is something that inspires me, right? I'm inspired that you were able to do that. And I want to give the listeners a chance to hear how you did that. How did you become a world champion?
Man, I want to say overnight. No. No, you know what? Let me tell you my story. Let me tell you
please.
I'm gonna shock you right now, because I've recently only found out something about myself.
Okay.
So my biological mother stepped out of my life when I was 3 years old. So I was raised by my dad, and later my stepmom raised me. I lost my dad. Now I have a big cut over my body. I have a big cut just underneath my stomach. I have a cut about this long. So my whole life, my dad told me he said, oh, when you were a newborn baby, you had problem like doing the number one, go to the bathroom and do number one. Like you had a problem. So, or as a newborn baby, you had an operation. That's the end of it. But the cut is so long and it starts right on my left side and it goes all the way long. It's way too long for bladder cut, whatever. But my dad always, my dad was also a big believer. And only now when I lost my dad, I figured I gotta look up my biological mother and get in touch with my biological mother because I got questions. So the first question I asked her is that I got a big cut on my body. What was that? And she explained to me, she goes, when I was 6 months pregnant with you, you were still in my womb, the doctors picked up that your left kidney is not developing. So when you were born, from birth, you were right under the knife. So
Wow.
and I was like, what do you mean? And she goes, you don't have a left kidney. I was like, wait, what? She goes, yeah, you don't have a left kidney. They put in a plastic apparatus that would grow as you grow, but you don't have a left kidney. And your right kidney, the pipe was bent and blocked. So they took that out and put a left plastic pipe in that will also grow as you grow. And the doctor said, your son will never be able to do any contact sport.
Wow.
How's that?
Wow.
But my dad, being a man of faith, refused to ever tell me that. He knew it. But he said, my dad said, no doctor will determine my son's outcome of his life. Like it's in God's hands. So I lived a normal childhood. Like it was a gamble. I know. People say, oh, your dad took a gamble. Yes, he did. Because what if something went wrong? But nothing ever went wrong. I won a world title. Now, how did I win a world title? I didn't want to fight, man. I had no choice. I was 6 years old when I started boxing. Against my will. My dad was a fighter. And in South Africa, it's a way of living in South Africa, growing up, fighting in the streets, fighting in school. That was just, it wasn't called bullying. It was, it was normal way of life. And clearly I wasn't good at that as a kid, but my dad put me in boxing and I had 97 amateur fights and I won 94 of them. Even though I want to use the word, no, let's not use the word hate because it's too hard, but I disliked boxing. I didn't want to be a fighter. Wow. But again, nope. And I was going to go to Olympics, but because I wanted to get my dad's approval, I knew how happy my dad become when I win and how proud he was. I won because I didn't want to let my dad down.
Right.
And then I always told myself, I said, when I'm 18 years old, I wanted to become an accountant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, when I'm 18 and I'm a man, I will tell my dad I'm done. Yeah. But now I got to tell you how I got raised. This is the typical way how I was raised. Out of all I'm one of 7 boys. And my dad would put me, my dad would say, get in the car and we'll drive to a local township. Now, a township is where the poor Black community lived. And my dad would say, get out of the car. My dad would look for a kid. It was always a kid a little bit bigger than me. I would see my dad would take out money and give this kid money. And then the next moment, this kid would run across and start punching me. So my dad's paying this kid to beat me up because my dad needed me to fight back. And 9 out of 10 times I got beat up. And then I had a bloody nose and I was crying. My dad would say, get back in the car. If we wanted to go to the movies or we wanted pocket money, my dad would say, okay, call your brother Chris. My dad would say, okay, if Chris can run the 1 mile under this time, I will pay for you all to go to the movies. But if he cannot do that, well, sorry, blame your brother. So as I was raised, my dad raised me with that kind of pressure. And my dad would say, maybe as early as 10 years old, as I can remember, my dad would say, one day when you're old enough, there's something I want to tell you, but one day when you can understand this. And I would just keep on going. And then again, every now and then I'll say it. Now, growing up without a biological mother, I knew it was my stepmother. And my dad being so hard on me, out of all the boys, like always so on me, I started creating this idea in my head by myself that I know what he wants to tell me. And the idea in my head was, oh, I'm not his son. Like I'm adopted. That's, I'm a kid. So I'm like, why always me? Why always me? And I was like, yeah, one day, I guess I'm not his son. I'm adopted. I don't know, being a kid. And then 18, and I got my results after school. And I was like, okay, I can go to college. And I was ready to sit my dad down and say, Dad, I'm done with this thing called boxing. I want to go into accounting. And my dad calls me into a room and he goes, I'm ready to tell you what I want to tell you. And he goes, your whole life I've been very hard on you, and I know you picked it up, and but I need you to know that when I look at you, when I look in your eyes, I see myself. He goes, I see a world champion. He goes, my dream was to become a world champion. He could not pursue that. He goes, but when I look at you, I cannot help but to see a world champion. And it's my job as a father to push you and get the best out of you. He goes, and my dad tells me, he goes, you are my hero.
Wow.
For my dad, that's been my hero, still is, to say that to me, I was like, whoa. And he left the room. And it was like, whatever you come up with it. And when he left the room, I knew I wanted to become a fighter. And that's when I was like, Dad, now I want to do this because you believe, like, now I get it. You're seeing something. And I chose to pursue this dream. Now,
wow.
I can go deeper into the faith part of this because I had obviously obstacles, but I'm going to skip that. And we're going to go into my dad said to me one day, he said, I was 19. And he said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And the only thing I could say was, I will be a world champion. By the time I'm 24, I was like, because I believed it. I said, by the time I'm 24, I'm going to be a world champion. Now, obviously, we had ups and downs between 19 and 24. But the night I won, now, how did I become a world champion? My dad always told me, he said, there's hard work and there's talent. And we all know this. We all know how it goes, right? Hard work outworks talent, always. And my dad said to me, my son, and my dad was very honest. It was always black and white with my dad. And my dad would tell me two things. He said, you're not the best looking out of your brothers. He goes, but, no, he says, hey, you're not the best looking out of the brothers. But, my son, a man with confidence is a sexy man. So my dad would always say, he said, even though your brothers are bigger and stronger and maybe better looking, be the confident guy. That's attractive. That's one. Yeah. And two, he said, hard work beats talent. You got to be the guy that works the hardest. He goes, your talent is okay. He goes, there's guys that's got way more talent than you. He goes, but don't let them outwork you. Right. And that was my whole motto as from 19. I was the hardest working. They call me a gym rat because, man, I always felt like I'm running short. And again, I wasn't the most talented, but when we got in that square ring and we got a fight, you better know I'm 110%. But that's where my nickname comes from, the Heat. My ring name, because whoever was in that ring with me in sparring and training and preparation for a fight, they dreaded it because I was like a machine. Like there was after sparring, they would be done because there's just nothing keeping me off them. Right. Wow. And then obviously the vision. Keep going. And on one fight after fight. I went undefeated in South Africa. To this day, I've never been beaten in my country. I had 19 fights in South Africa, undefeated. I've beaten every name they put in front of me, and names that I was not supposed to beat, I've beaten because of hard work. I knew how to beat them. And the night I won the world title, I never even thought about it. And my dad calls me aside and he goes, my son, how old are you? I was like, I'm 24. And he said, you did it. And that is also the defining moment. Only then, that night, was the defining moment of me understanding how much power there is in our words. I didn't realize, wow, holy crap, like we got to be very specific with our words. And then I'm going to tell you another story about words and being specific, but I realized that our words carry power. And what we speak, we achieve. And we got to be careful. If we wake up every morning and I'm saying I'm tired, believe me, your whole day you're going to be tired. Right. You're going to be, if you speak it, you're going to feel tired. If you say I'm in pain, the whole day you're going to feel like you're in pain. There's so much power in our words. And that night, 24, I discovered the power of words. Wow. And I mean that's how I was just the hardest working dude.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for being a fan of the show. I really appreciate your support. And if you'd like to further support the podcast, please grab a copy of my book, The Inspired Athlete. The Inspired Athlete is all about my personal growth journey, my athletic journey, my spiritual journey, all combined into one. And really the idea is that the energy of the inspired athlete is within us all, and it's up to us to evoke that. And whether you consider yourself an athlete or a competitor or not, it's my belief that the energy of the inspired athlete is within us. Even if you just decide to take a deep breath and just move your body, that's the inspired athlete. So it would mean a lot if you could help support the book project as well as the podcast by grabbing a copy. Links to the Amazon paperback version as well as the Audible audiobook version are listed below in the description. Thank you very much for your support. Stay inspired, y'all. Man, I so appreciate you sharing that. And a couple things come to mind when you were sharing. The first thing, like you're saying, is this idea of speaking it out, right? It's manifesting, and it keeps coming up in my show, like all these interviews I have with, with world champions or Olympic champions. This idea of this was my goal, this was my vision. I spoke it out, I wrote it out, I put it out to the universe, and then I went ahead and did the work to get there. But the idea of speaking it out, I feel like a lot of people are afraid of just that action of this is what I'm gonna do, right? This is what I want to do, and this is what I'm gonna do, and here it is, right? So I commend you for that, and I think that's really relatable because that's another intention for me for this show. I want to make all these stories, specifically your story, relatable, because not everyone's going to be a world champion boxer, but I think we can all be inspired by your mindset and this idea of manifest with your word. I just love that,
Yeah, my brother. Like I cannot, and like I said, like I'm a human, right? And especially now because I'm moving towards retirement.
Yeah.
Right. I'm right there right now where I'm deciding, do I want to go one more time or do I want to retire? But I do catch myself. It's a scary place to be. And I do have these visions. I see these visions, the next visions. I see different visions now. And I know the power of words and I know the power of visions, but I cannot help. I'm human to sometimes it's, we slip. We slip.
For sure.
We slip and we're like, I don't know. And I'm a praying man and I pray. But then now, like talking to you right now again, I'm speaking it out loud. I'm like, why am I worried, dude? Like, why are you worried? You that you have the blueprint. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But worry is very relatable to all of us, right?
I tell people, I say, I'm that guy. I throw myself under the bus. I make myself the bad guy in the sense of I'm real. I meet so many people out there and friends that's always like, nah, I'm not worried. Like, no, I'm not this. I'm like, bro, be honest. Like, you want to tell me you never worry? Well, you do worry. Sometimes you do worry. No, I don't worry. Like, and I'm like, I've been that guy. I've been that guy.
Yeah, I think we all worry. And I was going to tell you, I have a section on this because I'm inspired by your vulnerability on Instagram. You've shared some dark.
Man, I can go deep into that as well.
Yeah. I want to get there, but before we do, because I do want to get there, because I really do appreciate that vulnerability and authenticity. I wanted to go back just one step and talk about that championship because, we got to celebrate that, man. Like, can you bring me and the audience to that night, to that fight?
Okay, let's go back. Let's just go back because it all happened. Let's go back one fight before that.
Oh, sure.
Fight. Yeah, the fight before that was for the world title #1 spot.
Okay.
So in order for me to get to the world title, I had to beat this eliminator. I had to fight the gold medal, the Commonwealth gold medalist. His name was Bongani Mualasi. This was the biggest win I'm getting goosebumps speaking to you.
Yeah, let's go.
Because I fought this guy in the amateurs and he beat me.
Okay.
And he beat me up. And he turned pro and he was like making noise. I stayed 1 year longer as like an amateur because I wanted to go to the Olympics. But as he was climbing the ranks and he was just making name. He was named. They saw him as the most feared welterweight in Africa. He was tall, southpaw, gold medalist, knocking out people like crazy. And now I turned pro and I'm climbing the ranks and we're both in the welterweight division. And I knew in the back of my head, I've only been afraid of one fighter in my whole career, and that's this guy. Because I saw him knock out people. He was like I don't even want to compare him to that, but think of Muhammad Ali with the mouth. Like, this guy could talk, and he was knocking out people, and he's a gold medalist walking around with a gold medal. And we're both climbing the ranks. And as a build-up, you know, I would always call him out. I would always say, I'm coming for you. He was ahead of me, and I would always say, I'm coming for you. And he would always, in interviews as I was climbing the ranks, mention how like, I'm not on his level, he's going to knock me out, blah, 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 should we ever fight? And I never really got the recognition. But now I got the world title eliminator, and I've got to fight this guy. We're finally at this point where I've got to fight this guy. And I'm scared, man. I'm so scared. Like, in my head, I'm like, but I knew how to beat this guy. I studied him, so I knew how to beat him. But to know how to beat him and actually go there and execute the game plan, that's two different things, right? Sure. You got a game plan until you step in that ring. And like Tyson said, once you get hit in the mouth, the game plan goes out the door. Like, then it's on.
Yeah.
And I'm in this fight, and I'm fighting this guy, and I knew how to beat him, and I'm able to execute my game plan. Like, this is like the Ali. Like, I took a lot of things. You're a kid, right? So you look up to fighters. So I looked up to Ali. Like, when Ali fought, I can't remember who he fought, but he called him Cassius Clay. And Ali said, my name is Muhammad Ali. He said, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to spell my name. So this guy in the build-up called me Christina. He said, you hit like a woman. He goes, you're Christina. So every interview we do, he refuses to say Chris. He calls me Christina. So I had that sense. I said, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to beat you up, and you're going to say my name. You know, you're going to say my name. And as this fight go, man, I have it down to a T. I knew how to beat this guy. And once I started executing my game plan, he didn't have a game plan for that. So from round 1 to round 8, I'm winning. I'm beating this guy up. His face is swollen up. And we get to round 8, the end of round 8, and we go to the corners, and the bell ring, and we've got to get back up, and we've got to fight. And I see he keeps sitting in his chair, and the ref says, let's go. And he keeps sitting. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, this guy's about to quit on the stool. And the ref says, come on. And his coach, being a very knowledgeable coach, saw that his fighter was like about to quit. He kicked over the water bucket in the corner. So the whole ring on the corner was flooded with water. So now there's a timeout of 2 minutes, and a clean ring. Now the guy got his confidence back. He got his breath back. So the fight went 12 rounds, and I beat him.
Wow.
That was the biggest win for me in my career, beating that guy, because I feared him.
Wow.
And I beat him. And then when I beat him, the African community, the South Africans, the Black community, made me their inspiration. So that was a big win for me. So now we go to the world title fight. I'm fighting a guy called Kaiser Mabuza, former world champion. Kaiser Mabuza just came to America, and he knocked out the very own Kendall Holt. Now, Kendall Holt was a three-time world champion. And Kaiser Mabuza just knocked him out in America on home soil. And I got to fight Kaiser Mabuza. Now I went to study, watch a fight of Kaiser Mabuza, and I picked the wrong fight to watch. I picked a fight where Kaiser hit this guy so hard. The guy was stiff in the ring, and they had to carry him out with the stretcher.
Wow.
So I've watched that. And now my whole training camp, that vision is in my head. Like I'm trying to shake it, because now I don't watch fights. After that, I've never watched fights again, but I keep shaking it. So I know his name, The Hammer. They call him The Hammer. I'm like, okay, clearly knocks people out. Get to the world title fight. Again, my confidence is through the roof. I just beaten the guy I feared the most, the gold medalist. So my confidence is through the roof. And then I'm in this world title fight, and he hit me. I think it was round 1 or round 2, and he hit me, and I felt it. But when he hit me, he didn't hurt me though. Like he didn't shake me, because I was conditioned. And once he hit me, and I wasn't shaken, I realized, I was like, oh wait, I can take this guy's power like this. Like I can take it. It's not that bad, you know. We had an amazing fight, and I got to round 11, and I knew as a fighter, you know when you win.
Yeah, you feel it.
I knew I won the fight. I knew that. I was like, there's one round left, and I'm the champion of the world. And my coach told me, he said, I'll never forget it. In the corner, he goes, you better, there's 1 round left. He's going to come out desperate. keep your hands up, Chris. And I'm like, I got this. Now, again, I gave my life to the Lord when I was 19, and I made him a promise. So I'm at the end of round 11. I'm preaching to the people through the camera in the corner between that 1 minute break. I'm preaching to the people in the corner. Get the Lord in your life. Like God has got, and my coach is like, you got to focus. You got 1 round left. And I'm like, I got this. I'm preaching. And he goes, keep your hands up. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this guy ain't going to hit me. And I get out in round 11 and he hits me with a hook. Man, my hands were down and he hits me flush. And I shook my head. Again, didn't hurt me, but I shook my head and I was like, oh, I better keep my hands up. Like, this boy's coming out to beat me up.
Sheesh.
And midway through round 12, I started celebrating. Like, I started running. I'm celebrating. And okay, so I'm declared the world champion. I'll never forget it. That whole arena was about 4,000 people in a casino. And I'm declared the world champion, and they left me up, and that just felt unreal. And it's fireworks, and it's unbelievable. And I thought I've only seen my dad cry once in my life, and that's when he lost his dad. But until then, I never seen my dad cry. After that point, I've never seen my dad cry. And I knew if I win the world title, I'm going to see my dad cry. I knew it. I was like, he's going to cry from me. And I'm walking towards my dad to hug him. And he starts, he was so mad at me for celebrating.
Oh.
And he was like, he goes, you get in that ring, you can die. He goes, you never disrespect a man like that. He goes, it is wrong. Like, you respect that man. And I'm like thinking to myself, I just won the world title, Dad. But that's who my dad was. He was like getting my priorities straight. He goes, you respect that man. And I said, I'm sorry, Dad. And then he hugged me. He did not cry, though. He did not cry. And
wow.
Man, I mean, and I was 24. Man, that's how old are you? I said, I'm 24. He said, you spoke this.
You did it.
You spoke it.
That's, man, like, for someone who's a boxing fan, right? Like, I'm a fan. I'm not a boxer, but I can only imagine the feeling. Can you describe the feeling of just being in the arena, and yes, winning for sure. But yeah,
I say to my people, I say, I wish on every person to experience what a fighter experience. Now, boxing is not a team. It's a team sport because you have a team. But once you're in that ring, it's a you sport. Like, it's you. You are the one taking those punches. You fighting.
Yeah.
And but when you walk out that aisle towards the ring, they mention you, and your music is playing. The rush you get is worth the price to pay, man.
Right.
For me, a moment in life. You walk down that ring, and all those people look at you. And it's your song, and it's your moment. You're the main event. You feel immortal. I feel like I can take on anyone, anything. Nothing is too big. I feel so powerful. Like nothing is more important than in that moment. Everything disappears, and you're finally in a moment where you go, wow, like, this is it. Like, my hard work, this sacrifice. I cannot explain the feeling other than I feel untouchable. You feel on top of the world. Like, the rush is worth the price to pay. And I wish upon every person needs to experience whatever that feels like.
Yeah. I'm really inspired. First of all, congratulations. I mean, it's just, you have this body of work, and it leads up to that one moment, and you experience it. And, like, that's just a beautiful moment. And that's why I want to celebrate you. And I want to ask you the next thing, which is, you have this moment of victory. And I've heard recently that, you share on your social media that this kindness is such a big part of who you are, and this major, like, value point for you. I want to know, like, from such a brutal sport where it's like, I'm gonna kill you kind of mentality, to, like, this mentality of, like, no, my main value point in life is kindness and love. Like, where did that come from? How did that come to be?
Again, my father, with the principle. My dad would say, first of all, my dad knew I was going to become a world champion because he believed in me. He said, one day you're going to be up top of that. And when you get there, you better not change. He said, you better be, you're not better than no one. You have achieved God-given talent, and you've been blessed with hard work, but that doesn't make you better than anyone other than as a human being. We're all the same. So be kind with us. You better not change. And again, being a daddy pleaser and wanted to get his approval, I listened to him. And but then my dad would say this. He would tell me as a kid, he would say, "You never know who you're being kind to. You don't know who you're being kind to." He goes, "Be kind to everyone you meet along your path, because you never know when you're being kind to the right person at the right time. If you're being kind to the right person at the right time, it can change your life and open doors for you. You never know. If you're being a bad guy, that guy might want to help you, but he has no, because you think you're better than whoever." So that comes from my dad. That concept comes from my dad, where just be kind to everyone, because you never know when you're being kind to the right person. And I have testimonies again where I've been kind to the right person. I have no idea who these people are, but I'm just being a cool dude. I'm just being kind and nice, and then I'm like, oh crap, like this is who they are. And then I'll be invited to stuff, and it's because of that kindness. Now you become a world champion. All of a sudden you're a star back home, and people love you, and people started to recognize you. I'm going to be very honest and say my kindness has never changed. But when I won the world title at 24, I did, a part of me again, I'm human. I did choose who I answer to, or who I reply to, or who I go see, because I felt like my value has gone up, and now I belong in a better circle. And I made that mistake. Because I lost everything. And I need to realize, oh man, like I've been a little bit of a bad guy, like a bit of to these people. When you lose everything, you're humbled, and you're like, oh wow, like I'm right back at the beginning.
Okay, so this is a good spot to talk to you about losing, right? So we talked about winning. You become a world champion, you become celebrated. Talk about losing. Talk about becoming uninspired, because for me, this idea of the inspired athlete and this whole theme of the show kind of stemmed from this place of being alone and being in a dark place and feeling like I'm a failure, of having this self-doubt, and you even talk about depression. If you want to go there on the show,
I'm gonna go in there, man. I'm gonna be real.
Please do. Yes, please.
So I lost without even getting in the ring. So once I won the world title, I defended it 3 times. I mean, my divisions were different. My visions were Madison Square Garden, Freddie Rhodes, Manny Pacquiao. My visions were headline Las Vegas. That was not my visions. And I was like, I want to fight. I want to compare myself against the best fighters in the world. I don't want to be, if you're in South Africa, I'll be a protected fighter. I was told that they'll bring these guys in to fight you as a world champion, but you're in home soil. The judges is kind of in your favor. Like, and I wanted to get out of that because my dreams were bigger. And then I remember the promoter in South Africa wanted to re-sign me and tie me down. And I said, I'm not going to resign. And he goes, well, I said, I'm going to go to America. And now, again, the vision that inspired LA, don't laugh and don't judge. But at the time, the vision that inspired me coming to LA was Baywatch. Okay, Pamela Anderson, the rollerblades, the palm trees, the beach. I was like, I want to live there one day, and I believed it. But now boxing, I knew the capital of Freddie Roach is out here. This is where Pacquiao trains. It's like, I got to go to LA. And obviously, I made it here. But when I didn't re-sign with that promoter, he told me, he said, oh, you can kiss your world title goodbye. I said, what do you mean? He goes, if you don't resign, you'll lose your world title. I was like, whatever. Again, I came to America, and once I landed, I just came with a tourist visa. I didn't even have a works visa. And again, pride and ego will destroy everyone, but I had too much pride and ego to go back home, because everyone already told me I will come back home. They say he won't make it. He'll be back before you know it. So now being in America, and oh, damn, I need a works visa. I need a works permit. I need a bunch of things for me to be fighting in America. I got to go home because I don't have these things. But I was like, I'm not going to go home because they're waiting for me to come home, and I'm not going to go home. I got to make this work. I have these visions. But as I barely landed, and I got an email from the boxing board that said, hey, you have 3 months to defend your world title. Otherwise, we'll strip you. And I was like, oh, how am I going to do that? There's no way, unless I go home and find someone there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And before I knew it, I got stripped. So I lost my world title without even fighting, right? So there I go. Can you see me?
Yeah. I got you.
So there I go, and I'm without a world title. And now I'm starting to question everything. Did I make the right move? Like this guy said it, it's happening. So I lost my world title. So this is where losing started for me. Is there. And it was one thing after another, setback after setback. I mean, it got so bad because now I'm in LA. I lost my world title. I had some money in South Africa. Obviously, money-wise in South Africa as a world champion I was wealthy. But come to America, if you look at the dollar now, it's 20-1. I think it was like 13-1 or 12-1 when I came here. So all of a sudden, my money in South Africa to come here means nothing. I'm blowing through money, and I'm drawing money from a South African account. But now I've overstayed my tourist visa. So now I know if I go home, America's not going to let me back in because I've broken the rules. So now my bank account gets frozen in South Africa. So I can't draw money because now they see all these transactions and they say, oh, you got to come back home to be in person. I say, I can't come home. So now I went from being a world champion to basically being broke because I don't have access to money. Wow. I have too much pride and ego to ask people for help. So I go from this world champion broke. All of a sudden, I go to this guy, like, I sleep with my friends, like, in a small room. I haven't eaten for 2 days. Yet I have my dad phoning me every single day and believing in me and saying, my son, how are you doing? I choose to pretend to be okay. I choose to fake it. Dad, I'm good. I'm there, man. It got so much. I mean, I've like I said, again, depression now. Like I'm in my head. I'm starting to get these suicidal thoughts. Okay, all of a sudden, I would catch myself every now and then because I'm faking it. I'm pretending to be this guy everyone still remembers, but I'm not. I'm like, if you had to see me, you'd think I'm like, I'm a nobody. Like I'm broke. Whatever. I'm starting to get these suicidal thoughts. And then I shake my eyes. I'm like, why am I sitting in silence and thinking about it? What's the easiest way to kill myself? Like I would shake my head and be like, come on, man, how did you end up here? Like, come on, get it out of your head. And then I would go to the gym, the happiest place for me, because it's all I knew. It was show up at the gym, work. That's all I knew. And I always feel a little better once I'm done working out. And then I will catch myself again thinking about, if I took, what pills can I take that would kill me? Or what is there an injection I could do? I would just catch myself with these thoughts. But yet, I'm still number 10. I'm still top 10 in the world, even though I'm no longer the world. My ranks are still. I'm still like I'm a legitimate fighter. I'm still top 10, but I'm getting the scores. And then I had a phone call with my dad at the middle of the night, and my stomach. I hang up the phone, and my stomach was growling. And I was like, oh, I can't sleep. I'm hungry, so let's put my shoes on. I'm gonna go for a run. But as I'm tying my shoes, I'm like, wait, if I jump in front of a bus at a high speed and that bus hits me, it's over. Like I'm done. Surely I'll be dead. Like, and I'm like, okay. And as I'm tying my shoes, I'm like, yeah, like that's what I want to do.
Huge thank you to new sponsor of the show, Chico Bag. Chico Bag is your eco-friendly travel pack and shopping companion. I actually have my travel pack right here. I use it almost every day, and I love it. Love it for little day trips or going to the grocery store. It replaces hundreds of single-use plastic bags and fits in your pocket or purse. And with its stylish and durable design, you can take it anywhere. Chico Bag is a certified B Corp and donates 1% of sales to environmental causes. So join the Chico Bag revolution to reduce plastic waste and create a sustainable future. Visit chicobag.com and get 20% off your order as a Within the Game podcast listener using promo code Within the Game. Back to the show.
Like I'm tired. I'm tired of pretending to be this. I'm tired of pretending to be okay. I'm hungry. I'm like, look at me. I feel like a failure because my dad was my hero. May rest in peace. I love my dad. He's the best. But it wasn't always right. My dad wasn't always right. And my dad was, if you didn't win, if you didn't come first, my dad would say you're a failure. If you didn't win, you're a failure. To my dad, it was winning, winning, winning. And it made me feel that way. It was always about winning. So in my head, I had the concept of, oh, wow, I'm failing right now. I'm failing. I'm a failure. I'm failing. So I'm putting on my shoes and I'm going for this run with the idea of finding a bus. Yeah, I was like, now I'm running to kill myself. I want to jump in front of a bus. And I find the bus. I find it. And as the bus is coming up and running down, I'm like, yes. I'm more like, this is what I want to do. And it happened so quick. Before I knew it, I was in the middle of the road and I looked back and the bus went past me and, I didn't jump, but it hit me off what I was thinking. Right. I wanted to kill myself. And then, I blamed God for it. And I fell on my knees in tears and I was in an argument with God and I found myself again. Now, fast forward now. I don't want to even go, I can go into the vision of Madison Square Garden and how that happened, because I live with this thing where I tell people, say yes. If anything, say yes, say yes, say yes. Someone approach you with an opportunity, say yes. You don't know how to do it, go find out how to do it. But at first, say yes. Don't just dismiss the opportunity by saying, oh, I don't know how to do it. Say yes and then go try and figure out how to do it. And if you can't do it at all, then tell them, but go and try and figure out. So I always say yes. And I got this big fight, undefeated fighter. Anyway, I said yes to the fighter because I was desperate for money and I wanted to fight. So I said yes to fight this undefeated fighter that was promoted by Jay-Z, Rock Nation. And so they wanted to use me for my name because I was top 10. But I knew the guy was unbeaten. So they wanted they would have screwed me over, But I was so determined to fight and so hungry to fight that I didn't care who I was fighting. I just needed money and I wanted to fight. So I said yes, and they sent me the contract. And the contract said the venue, Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, my childhood vision, my dreams, Madison Square Garden. Like, if I said no because I'm afraid, I would have never known, or I never would have been able to do that. So say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes. You never know. So that's another story. But let's come to the night I lost. Errol Spence Jr., which we all know. Errol Spence Jr. is holding the 3 belts in the boxing. He's the undefeated welterweight champion of the world, #1, now fighting Terence Crawford for all the belts. That's Errol Spence. That's the guy I lost to my first fight. Now, going to that fight, you hear this, people say, as an athlete, you know this. You hear this all the time. People say 90% mental,
right?
10% physical. 90% mental, 10% physical. I always argued that. Argued it because I only know hard work. So I would be like, nah. I was like, what do you mean? I said, if I'm in the best shape of my life and I'm coming into the ring physically as top as I can be, there's no way you can beat me. That was my attitude. I was like, there's no way you can beat me. So the fight with Errol Spence, that whole training camp was a mess. I was now I was being trained by Freddie Roach. But that's been a dream. And now I'm being trained by Freddie Roach. That's another story of how I got there. But anyway, so Freddie is my coach. I'm training for this big fight. I didn't know who Errol Spence was. I didn't go study him. I didn't go watch his fights. I knew I was going to beat whoever they put in front of me because I'm a believer in myself.
Yeah.
So the training camp already was a little rocky because I was now in a court case with my management team at the time, right? So they took me to arbitration. So now I'm being in a court case. I'm being sued. Sorry. I was on bad terms with my management team. They've stopped calling me. They stopped refusing to take my messages. So I got the Errol Spence fight negotiated myself.
Oh, wow.
Because my management team is giving me no answers. They've disappeared on me because they can't make things happen. I'm bugging them every day. When am I fighting? So they got tired of me. But they had me tied down to a contract. So they know they're not going to lose me. So I haven't spoken to them in months. So I've now got so desperate. I've got this Errol Spence fight. I said yes to this undisputed fighter. Freddie is my coach. Anyway, I get to the venue. The venue's in Canada. I go alone. Freddie Roach tells me, go. I will come tomorrow. I still have business here. You fly. I'll meet you tomorrow. So now, the whole training camp, I've been dealing with management problems. My mom and dad was going through a shaky time. They were getting divorced. I haven't seen my family almost in 2 years. So I have this in my mind. I'm doing the management side. My Freddie would be at the gym one day, not at the gym one day at the gym, one day not. So it's a shaky ground. Now, again, being a man of faith, everything inside of my head is telling me to pull out of this fight. Like, pull out of this fight, Chris. It's not the right time for this fight. God is talking to me. Now, I can go into this and say, we know what to do. God speaks to us through signs, emotions, and people. So when you feel, so like what I felt that time, the whole time I'm building up for this fight, I'm getting this feeling that it's not good. It's not good. Pull out, pull out, pull out. But again, pride and ego is I want to fight. So I'm not listening to these voices. So I get to Canada only to get the phone call from Freddie to say he's not going to make it. So now I'm in a foreign country by myself without a management team. My head is consumed with all of these things. When the Freddie gave me that call, I gave up. That's the moment I gave up. I was like, I'm done. I was like, my coach is not here. All of this pressure, like, oh, I gave up mentally. I gave up. I was like, oh, tonight I'm going to lose. And that's also the first time as a pro athlete, as a pro fighter, that I thought I was going to lose. I was like, all of a sudden, I'm getting these ideas in my head that I'm going to lose. Anyway, I'm in this fight with Errol. As I'm walking towards the ring, it hits me. You're in a fight. Now, listen to this. All I needed to do was beat Errol Spence. And I was going to get a shot possibly against Manny Pacquiao. We all know who Manny Pacquiao is. So I was one fight away from changing my life, like on another level in America. So I'm in this fight with Errol. Now I'm going to run into this fight because this is in my documentary. Also, the best moment, like such a teachable moment right here. Okay. I'm in this fight with Errol Spence. I'm in the ring. And before the bell rang, I knew I was going to lose. I knew I was going to lose. But I asked myself, how are you going to lose, Chris? Are you going to lose like a man out on your shield and put up a fight? Or will you get knocked out? Now, obviously, you don't want to get knocked out. I was like, I don't want to get knocked out. I'm going to fight like a warrior. If anything, I want to fight. I was like, I'm not going to get knocked out. So I'm in this fight. In round one, I'm already in round one. Errol Spence would tag me with that jab. Every time I would throw a punch, he would get out of the way and he'd hit me. I go back to the corner. After round one, I went back to the corner like, wow, okay. It's a different guy. Like, I got to try something different. And then I would go out there in round two. And again, Errol would hit me and he would hit my body. And every time he would hit my body, I would I would go, I don't know if you go watch that fight. That's the last time you'll see me be like that, be cocky like that. Everything my dad was against, I became, because I had no answer to this guy. So I thought, okay, let's try and get in his head. So when he hits me and he flashes, I'm just going to be like, dude, I'm not hurt. So I would constantly shake my hand and be like, I would talk to him. I'd be like, nope. So you can't hurt me. So I would talk to him and it would hit my body. And I'd be like, nope. And I would go back in round three and I realized I had no answer for this guy. I knew I was going to fight, but I was in round three. There was 10 rounds. Of 10 rounds, I was like, man, this is going to be a long night. And I get to round four. And the only round I won was round five. That was the only round I won. Because I caught him with the hook and all of a sudden he went backwards and I pursued. But that was the only round I won on the scorecards. But then I got to round six and I realized what he did. Like, he was hitting my body so much and I keep shaking my head. And he was draining my body, took my energy. And when I got to round six, I remember I tried to get out of the way and my legs froze up. And I realized, that's why the body attack, he kept going to my body because he took my legs away. Okay. So in round seven, this guy was destroying me. And in round seven, the accumulating of punches, tiring, I went down. So he was beating me, and all of a sudden I went down on the canvas, and I'm there for the first time. I've never been on the canvas, not in training, not in sparring. I haven't been there before. And I'm on the canvas, I'm on my knees. And you only get 8 seconds to stand up. You know, I know you've never thought of this. People say, 10 seconds and you're out. You don't get 10 seconds, you only get 8. So they cut you down by 2. Because if you're not on your feet by 8, the ref automatically goes, it's over. Wow. So you only get 8 seconds, not 10. So I'm on this canvas, I'm on my knees, and I still have photos of it where I'm like just with my head on my arms like this on the canvas, on my knees. And all of a sudden, in that 8 seconds, felt like 5 minutes. Okay, I'm on this canvas, I'm starting to talk to myself. I'm having a back and forth with myself. I'm like, oh man, I'm like I'm on the canvas. I can just stay down. It can be over. I don't need to get up. I don't need to just keep getting punched. Stay down, Chris, and you can call it a night, get paid, go home, go see your family. Or stand up and fight on. But I want you to know that if you stay down, this is something you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life because you're being a coward, because you're not that hurt. Like, you can stand up. If you want to, you can still continue. So if you choose to stay down, you're going to have to live with. No one else will know that I could stand up, because by the looks of it, I'm getting beat up. Like, everyone will understand, but you will know you could have kept going. So if you stay down, that's the consequences. Or stand up and try and then keep getting beat up. And I was having this back and forth all in 8 seconds. And before I knew it, I was on my feet and I was like, let's go. And my hands were shaking off and I was like, let's go. And I went on to another round 8. By the end of it, but that's the moment I found out. I got introduced to myself. That's the final moment I realized who I was. It's like, I am Chris van Heerden. I am a fighter. I'm not a quitter. No matter what. I know when things get hot and in the heat of the moment, when things go south, I'm the guy that's going to keep trying. That's the moment. And every time I see Spence, I tell him, I said, you've given me something, dude. Like, I lost to you, but you've given me, I know who I am. Wow. I am not a quitter. And that was it. Now, losing, I was so used to winning. People loving me, raising my hand, always phoning me. My phone doesn't stop. That moment there, it was the loneliest place to be because my phone was dead. All of a sudden, that, the energy changes and I realized I'm alone. And I came back to LA and I walked down the street. Now I'm a proud man. I don't wear sunglasses to hide my blue eyes because I'm a fighter. So I had busted face. My face was busted. It was the very next, I think it was the Monday. And I saw one of my friends down the street and I saw him see me and I raised my hand to be like, hey, and he turned around quickly. He just turned around and walked on, almost like maybe I never gave him the chance to speak to me about it because, again, I learned something that day. But maybe he didn't know how to approach me. Maybe he didn't know how to deal with talking to me because I got beat up. But I felt like he felt embarrassed. I was like, oh, wait. Now that I'm losing and I look bad, now where's my friends? I'm alone. And that's also the moment I realized, why am I doing this? I'm such a people's pleaser. I was fighting for the people. I was like, no, I got to do this. It's a lonely sport. And I got to do this for me. No matter, don't try and please other people. Do it for you. So that friend, which is no longer a friend, I don't even know where he is, but he taught me something. He gave me that. I got to do this for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what losing to me did.
Wow, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. Maybe this is a great time to talk to you about spirituality, because when we feel like we're alone, we're not really alone. We feel like we're alone, but we're never alone.
Never.
Right? Yeah. Maybe expand on that a little bit.
Man. Yeah, no, we never alone, man. Again, being a man of faith, and I grew up in a household going to church, but I never lived that way. I had to find my faith for myself, only to understand it, and I did. So being that guy, I believe in the power of prayer. I've prayed about things. I can go into testimonies about me praying for things and just being so positive that it's going to happen, and then it happens. Man, I can give you goosebumps, dude. It's crazy, but power and prayer, we're never alone. And now spiritually, if you're a praying man, you know that you're not alone. You can turn to God, and God tells us in the Bible. But then again, we're never alone. We feel alone as men, especially as men. We feel we always, we're the alpha male. There's so much pressure on us that we gotta do it. We gotta win. We gotta succeed. So one man to another, I don't want to come across weak in front of you because I don't want you to look upon me as a failure or so we put that pressure on ourselves to pretend that, oh, we got it. And we put that pressure of like, oh, we got to fill this out. But in reality, the truth is, if we know this, life is not easy. Life is hard. You are going through a difficult time. I'm going through a difficult time as men. Now, it might seem like I'm not, and it might seem like you're not, but we are fighting something.
Right.
We are.
Yeah.
When two men come together, usually 99% of the time when one buddy gets to another buddy and tells him his problems, we try to help.
Yeah, for sure.
The friend does, because he loves you and he cares and he knows what it feels like. But because we don't want to be judged, we live in a society that judges you, we choose to fight those things by ourselves. True. Right? So I don't open up about it. Now I'm the opposite guy. Like I tell him my stuff.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
You know, I almost took my life trying to pretend I'm okay. So I'm like, you know what? I know that the guy across the street from me or the guy walking or sitting on the bus next to me is fighting some battle as well. I know that we're not alone and we need to speak out. And 99% of the time, one, your friend is fighting something else, and two, he understands what you're talking about, and he's probably gonna try and help you. He's probably gonna try and help you, put you in contact. So, man, I just had to go through all these tough times for me to talk about to go back to my faith and praying and friend knowing I'm not alone. I'm not alone. My friends are there. My friends are there. My friends are there.
Yeah, and the idea of alignment, what does that mean? Like, Chris, the idea for me, just briefly, the idea of alignment for me is like being aligned with your true self, right? You can call it the higher power or God, but being aligned, because when you're out of alignment, that's when you mentioned ego and pride can take over. But when you're really in alignment, for me, it just feels, you mentioned emotion too. There's a feeling of like that. This is who I am.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And you also,
this is supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be. You see signs, like you feel it, man. You feel good. You feel good, right? Yeah, man. There's no other feeling like that.
And you mentioned earlier intuition. When I'm in alignment, I feel like my intuition is so strong and so clear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
true.
Like, how do you strengthen? What would you say to someone who's listening and they're like, "What are you talking about? Your intuition?" Like, how would you say you can strengthen your intuition through prayer or
that's a good question. Again, for me, it's always reflecting on going back to my scriptures and praying to them. That's me. That I just I've got a book in my car actually right now. I've done reading it, but it's still in my book. It's his Conversation with God. Conversation with God, and he talks about this where feelings and emotions speaking to us, and when we feel when we walk into a room and you're uncomfortable, like I shouldn't probably not be there. Like that's a sign. That's a sign. But trusting in those signs, if you actually try the effort and trusting those signs, right? And just act on those feelings and emotions, you'll get your alignment. Like you'll get there. Can I share testimony with you?
Please.
It's a powerful, dude. This
go
has changed my life. It's just powerful. Again, me being open about my faith and getting this fight at Madison Square Garden. And again, this to me was the defining moment of me understanding the voices in my head. How God, call it God or higher power, whatever people call it, but me, how God, how Jesus, how he speaks to me. So I'm getting this fight at Madison Square Garden. And now I got to go to a training camp. And training camp is expensive. So I'm looking for sponsors. I'm trying to get some money. So I'm on my social media and I'm asking for sponsors, and no one reaches out. No one reaches out. And I'm in praying, every day I go to bed, I pray. I'm like, God, just I trust in you. Put the right people on my path. I believe in you. Like, I know you're going to come through for me. I trust you. Help me. And then I'll put on my social media again. And I go to the gym, and a friend of mine comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, man, good luck with that big fight you got. I'm like, proud of you." He goes, "Can I give you advice?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You're in Hollywood." He goes, "You're in LA. You're in Hollywood. You're in a weird place. Like, You are very open about your faith. So you speak about Jesus. People are scared of guys like you. He goes, so my advice to you is taper down on that. If you want to say God, but a little less of that, because there might be people that want to reach out to you, but because people don't, it's a weird place to be, so don't. So again, this is typically who I am. Now, being the guy that lost it all, almost took his own life, and then surrendering back to God, I was like, I told him, I said, buddy, I said, if you know what I went through, I ain't doing that again. Like, I did put God second, I did put my faith second, and I ended up in a bad place. And the only thing that pulled through for me is my faith. So you know what? I cannot do that. But I got in my car, and just to show him, because I knew he's going to look at my social media again, just to show him that you didn't get to me, I went on my social media and I proclaimed my faith again, because that's who I am. I needed to show him you didn't get to me. So I walk on a 3rd Street promenade in Santa Monica. I'm walking. It was a weekend. And as I'm walking, I'm in my head, I'm praying. I'm like, God, just put the right people on my path, And I stop. Now, I want the listeners just to take this in. Do with this whatever you want to do with this, but just listen to me. So on the 3rd Street promenade, there's a lot of stuff going on in LA. Like, some people sing, dance, comedians, and he's a comedian. And he's got a big crowd of people around him. And he's making jokes. And I'm stopping for a second to just enjoy this. And this guy's funny. And I'm laughing. And out of nowhere, this homeless guy walks through the crowd. A homeless guy, barefoot, torn clothes, dirty clothes, pulling his little suitcase thingy, walks through the crowd right in front of this comedian. And a comedian starts making jokes about this homeless man. Everyone is laughing. I was laughing. And the homeless man stops and he turns around and he goes, stands right in front of this guy. And he puts his hand in his pocket and throws a quarter into this guy's bucket. Man, I'm getting chills. And we went quiet because, I stood there probably for 10 minutes. No one went forward to put money in this guy's bucket. This homeless guy puts in a quarter. And I get this voice in my head that goes, Chris, go to this homeless guy and give him whatever's in your pocket. And I remember it so clearly. I just looked up like, and I was like, God, are you serious? Like, serious, dude? Like, I'm praying for breakthrough. I'm praying for money. I need money. Now you're telling me to go give this guy money. I'm like, come on, dude. Anyway, I run after this homeless man. He's now left. And I'm walking behind him. I'm stopping him. I put my hand in my pocket. And all I had was $1. I had $1 cash on me. And I give him the $1. And he's like, thank you. God bless. I said, no. I said, God bless you.
Yeah.
I said, God bless you. And as I turn around, I bump into one of my friends. And this guy, he's a constructor.
Mm-hmm.
He's from the UK, came to America, made it big. He works on Oprah Winfrey's house. He works on, at the time, he worked on Brad Pitt's house. Like, this guy's got money. Mm-hmm. And he goes, bam, I bump into him. And he goes, Chris. He goes, wow. Because I was going to reach out to you. Because you had a big fight coming up, man. Because I got so busy. He goes, do you have time right now? Let's go eat something. I go, yeah, let's go. And we go sit and eat. And he goes, hey, man, fighting at Madison Square Garden, man. And he goes, I'm so proud of you. You work so hard. He goes, you inspire a lot of people. He goes, but most of all, I want to thank you for how open you are about your faith. Now, I just had a friend tell me to stop talking about my faith. And here's a friend telling me, thank you for just being an open book. And he takes out his checkbook and he writes me a check. And he folds the check over and he slides it over to me. He goes, I wanted to reach out. He goes, I hope this helps. And I put the check in my pocket and we eat and we leave. And obviously you can imagine all I wanted to do was see how much he wrote that check out for. Yeah. And I'm not going to mention this, but it was a substantial amount of money that he wrote me a check for. And I gave over there $1. Now, my story, the point I'm trying to make is the voice in my head said, go. I knew what I had to do. We know what we got to do. Most times we get the feeling, we hear the voices, we like, I should do this or that. And we ignore them because we scared or whatever. If I didn't listen to that voice, if I didn't go to that homeless guy, the encounter with my friend would have not have happened at that. It would not. We've missed each other again, and maybe he would have not reached out. I don't know, but the voice in my head,
Wow.
trusting the feeling. And look, and then he wrote me a check, and I had the training camp, and I won the title. I won the IBF title with Freddie Roach in my corner in Madison Square Garden.
So cool,
So
man.
that testimony's changed again. And yes, it doesn't mean I always listen, but you know, but I catch my like it's I trust the feeling, man. I trust emotion. I trust it. I can tell you one. I was supposed to go downtown to go teach a Soho class, a boxing seminar. And I got this feeling that I wanted to cancel the class. I got this feeling like for no reason, I was like, maybe I don't want to go downtown. Like I just got this weird feeling that cancel tonight's class. Maybe I felt that. And I ignored it. And I got in my car and I drove to Soho House, and this lady skips the red lights and she T-bones me. She hits me on the passenger side. My airbag hits out. My car's a write-off. I walked out with no scratches.
Wow.
But again, I got the feeling that I wanted to cancel the class. I ignored it, and I got in a car accident.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, we ignore these feelings. We ignore these signs. We ignore them. You know, I tell people, I say, God speaks to us. We just choose to ignore whatever signs or feelings or whatever. We ignore them.
That's deep. I appreciate that, Chris.
Sorry, bro.
I really do. I think it's really, it's not just deep. I think it's really true. I think, you know, the intuitive nudges, I call them nudges. The intuitive nudges come all the time, and it's up to us, right? We get that choice. We get that free will.
Free will. God gives us free will. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a God of love. He gives us free will. But he's always there when we come back. And that's the thing. He's just waiting on us to come back. That's all. But he gives us free will.
Chris, I know we're over time. Do you have a few more minutes? Because I just have a few more things.
Well, okay, let's go, my guy. If my phone dies, my battery's dead.
Okay. Well, just real quick.
Let's go.
Let's make these kind of quick ones. Just mention your experience sparring with Connor MacGregor.
Oh man, again, a lot of people in this world miss the opportunity of success because they're afraid to take risks. I went home for a month after winning my headline fight in Las Vegas. I did it, achieved it. Went home for a month, went to go see my family. I was lazy. I said, you know what? I'm going to spend time with family. I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm not going to train. I'm going to be I'll do my road work, but I'm not boxing. I got back on a plane and I got a phone call as I landed from the gym owner. He said, hey, I know you just landed. It was all over social media. Can you come to the gym? There's someone that wants to see you. I went to the gym, and in walks Connor MacGregor with his entourage. I was like, holy shit, he's bigger than. The first impression was like, he's bigger than I thought it was. Like, he's a big dude. And Connor's like, hey, Chris, nice to meet you. Now, at the time, Connor was getting ready for a rematch with Nate Diaz, which is a southpaw. I'm a southpaw. So I know where this was heading. He was getting, and he said, I would wonder if you could help me with some sparring. Now, also, I knew two things. One, that's the moment, that was the start of the conversation with Connor and Floyd, right? That was the start. So everyone was like making a big thing about it. So I knew that if I say yes to this, everyone is going to want to know who I am because I'm a fighter, Connor MacGregor, Floyd, whatever. But then again, I was like, I'm out of shape. He's bigger than me. If I say yes, he could beat me up. I could look bad. That's my name being through the mud. Or I could do good or get my name out there and everyone will know who I am. So I had like a window of a few seconds to answer. And I said, yes, I'll do it. And he said, when? I said, he said, now. I said, oh, I just got off a plane, but I'll go get my stuff. So I went home, got my stuff, came back. And the first sparring session was behind closed doors. I'm going to say you this. The video footage that out on the internet is the second sparring session. The first sparring session, and I can bring in people you can talk to that was there. I busted him. My white shirt had his blood on because I had to show him that I'm the man here. But after the first sparring session, I felt like I've showed him that I'm the alpha. This is my world. Now I can help him. So we had a second sparring session a few days later, and he walked up with a bunch of camera people. And I said, no, Connor. I said, come on. And he looked at me in my eyes and he shook my hand and he said to me, Chris, I give you my word. this is between us. Like, I just want to study my mistakes. So I said yes, of course. I felt he was genuine, but being a professional, I had someone standing on a corner with an iPhone to have my own backup. Now, he didn't know that. I told him. After that, I told my friend, I said, take out your phone just so I have backup, whatever. I just had that feeling to do that. And I did it. Thank goodness I did. Act on my feelings, my emotion. And so we have this sparring session. Now it was a way, you got to understand, it was a different sparring session because I felt like I've showed him that I'm the alpha male. So now I can actually help him and teach him, and we can move around, and we're gonna. So that's why if you look at this, the YouTube footage, my hands are down. I make jokes. My hands are down. He hits me. I hit him. But if you look at the unedited version, you still see that I schooled him. I still beat him. So the end of the sparring session, we shake hands. Connor, the coolest dude. He was so cool. Like listen to me when I speak. He was humble. He was nice. He took photos. He was cool. He edited the footage. Him and his team edited some footage. It went all over TMZ. It looked like he beat me up. Of course, they tried to sell the Mayweather fight.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
They tried. So he made me look bad. I, again, for 3 weeks, locked out all of my social media because people were making most fun of me. Slammed me. You're done. You're wash up. You know, you have no future. Blah, 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 blah. You got beaten by an MMA fighter. But I still had the unedited footage.
Yeah, yeah.
And I reached out to a friend of mine. I said, hey, he goes, Chris, you got 2 choices here. You can leave it and you can kiss your career goodbye, or let me give TMZ the unedited footage and then do with it what you want. So I went that way. Clearly, the tables turned. It was like, oh, wait, Chris played with this dude. Like, even though Chris played with him. And to this day, Connor has not reached out to me because he know. To this day, because he know we shook hands, he looked me in my face and he promised me this won't leak. And it leaked. And he just didn't know I had backup. But it was an amazing experience because everything happened like I knew. I took the risk and I got my name out there. Every fight, and I was on 50-something radio stations around the world. I was on Sports Scene. I was on ESPN. I was on Fox.
Right.
So my name got out there.
Right. Which is,
and it worked to my favor.
Yeah.
That was my experience.
Wow. I appreciate you sharing that here.
That's going to be a documentary as well.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait for that. And speaking of that, this is what I want to do to finish. I want you to define fulfillment for you, and then I want you to go into anything you want to promote, including that documentary.
Okay, fulfillment for me is, again, is like I made a post success, right? Is one putting out goals and targets that one wants to hit. And for me, fulfillment means hitting those targets, whatever that means, and whatever that goal means, is for me to hit those targets. Like that makes me feel good. And 2, being able to be in a position like right now where I get to share my story and be vulnerable and see that I can. There's a something when I speak to people and I spark something and I see a smile on their face. That feeling is unbelievable. I feel so fulfilled because I feel like Muhammad Ali said, the price to pay on this earth. No, our service to others is the rent we pay for room on this earth. What are we if we are not on this earth to be a service to others in whatever way? So me doing this, I feel I'm in a service. I'm the right one person might hear this and feel inspired. So that is fulfillment to me.
Beautiful.
And two, we are currently busy, blessed, again, visions. I'm currently, and congratulations on your book, because I'm now busy with my book. And
Awesome.
I'm so excited, man, because in the book I can tell so many stories about Tyson, and we can go way deep into this. Two, we are busy with a documentary. Again, a lot of people already get it. They go, oh, why are you doing a documentary? What have you achieved? I'm like, okay, I'm not the current world champion anymore, and I've not fought for all the belts, but I'm a small boy from a small town from South Africa. I made it out to America. I had visions, dreams, and goals that I've achieved. My story, my documentary is to give back to my dad. My documentary is focused on the love of a father and a son, and how my dad inspired me to achieve these things. So my documentary is to give back and show how a parent can affect a child's life and I just want to give back to my dad, and my
Yeah.
documentary is going to point out to all these things, that the small town visions. So we're busy with that. So that's where I'm at right now, and I'm going to be very honest. I am in a position where I'm contemplating retirement. I'm 36 years old. It's I have to say every athlete. And what is next for Chris, right? I do find myself sometimes, like this lost, because I don't know what's next. I want to move away from the idea that I'm a fighter because I want to be, and I'm in a scary place.
Yeah.
But I do have new visions now, and I see the vision so clearly. Like, one, the documentary has been a vision always. The book has been a vision, and it's finally happening. So I'm like, I'm on the right path. Like, it's gonna happen. But I have this vision. I just have this vision now where I see myself on stage and I talk to people and I share my testimonies, and I make a life out of that.
Yeah, man. Let's go.
And I believe in it. But again, sometimes I find myself in unbelief. And then I just got to shake myself and say, I'm a believer. I know I've been through this. I've been through this. I just got to stay on the path. So my guy, on that note, I want to say thank you for listening to me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. And man, I'm looking forward to more of this, and then stay in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you so much, man, for your time and for your vulnerability and authenticity. And I appreciate you. And maybe we'll have you back on when that documentary comes out.
Man,
don't go anywhere. But for the listeners, everyone, thank you for staying with us. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Everybody, stay inspired, y'all.